So it should open a workspace with several panels you see here. On the far left, you see a list of what's in your workspace in terms of the directory structure. You'll also see a welcome message. Essentially, I think it's using your VS Code as your IDE, and then it will open the training page as well as HTML document. So we're going to launch the fundamentals training. So on this upper right panel, it will open us a browser with Nextflow training and launch the fundamentals training. Just click on it. Are we all here?
No.
Put a pin sticker if you're not there.
Might have a lesson.
Copy that link and then open it in a new tab. Or just type training.nextflow.io in a new tab, and then when you scroll down, you'll see launch the fundamentals training. If you're unable to see this page on your Gitboard workspace, then in a new tab, type this on the URL link, training.nextflow.io, and then click on the fundamentals, launch the fundamentals training. Open. It should open the script in the VS Code editor. So on the lower panel, you will have a terminal. Just like if you use VS Code, you will see all the options there. You'll have a terminal panel. So let's go through the scripts line by line, okay? So the first line, who can tell us what that does? It's a yeah, it's a shebang line, so it's basically telling your computer that the interpreter required for this script is so it's a executable, yes. Now, the third line, we can initiate parameters or options in a Nextflow script by using the keyword params and then the option that you want. So here the option or the parameter that you want will be greeting, okay? So params.greeting is just a simple parameter, a greeting parameter, and it's a string. We're going to, it's a string, so we have to put it in quotes, hello one, okay? Now, how do you create a channel of such a parameter? We said we can use a single value channel. So this is a value channel. So we use the keyword channel of, and it's going to take this the parameter string as its input. Okay. So we have created there a greetings channel. So remember, in Nextflow, the flow of data depends on what you're calling channels. Okay. The sixth up to the, from line 6 to 17. Now this is a Nextflow process, right? We say to begin with the keyword process, the name of the process. So here the name is split letters. So we want to split the letters in the parameters channel, and the input there is going to be a value. So remember, it's a value channel. So the value channel we are getting from there, from the greetings channel, the output is going to be a path. So a path here refers to the file name. So we want our file names to start with the suffix chunk and other letters we'll see. And then the script block, which now indicates the exact executable that Nextflow will perform for you to split these letters. So this is a bash command, so it's not a Nextflow thing. So what Nextflow is going to consume here is a channel that you provide. Okay. So we can try this on the command line. So if I do print F John Juma, it's gonna print my name, right? So it's not a Nextflow directly. Okay, it's a bash command. Okay, same as split. So we saw this vertical bar. What does it mean? Pipe. It's a pipe. So if I do the same and then split is a bash is a command in Linux. The B option indicates I want to split this into 6 characters, or you can change it to 5. There's nothing happening, but I can use that symbol too. Output. Well, let me just do split alone. split the name without Python. Okay, I've forgotten how it works. Let me look at the man page. Split a file into pieces. Okay. Alright. Okay, I get it. So what essentially this does, it's going to take your input, which is the greetings parameter string. It's going to split it and then pass and then set the output into a file beginning with chunk. Okay. But the split and the printf are all Unix commands, as you've seen here. Once you have done that, it's going to produce a channel. So the paths to this file, the chunk underscore AB or chunk underscore ACP, and so on and so forth, are going to be input for your next process now, which is going to convert all the split elements in those parts to uppercase. So the command for doing that is tr translate small case into uppercase. And then because we want this channel to be on the standard output, it's going to be printed on your channel. So that's why the channel there is the standard output. And you're using the cat command to see what's in our files. And finally, we talked about the workflow now, which allows us to execute all the processes. So the first process is splitting the letters. It saves this. It will save it with the name letters channel. And then from the letters channel, we're going to use an operator called flatten to allow us to see those channels as separately. So instead of seeing them as an array, we're going to see them separately as single entities of the channel. And then because we want to print it on the standard output, we're going to use the view operator to see or to print every item in this channel, results channel. So first of all, let us see the output of this letters channel. Before we do that, we can simply visualize what's in our greetings channel. So to view a channel or to print a channel, we just use the operator dot view. Okay, and then we run our script. Nextflow run hello dot nf. Okay, so it has printed the channel here, the greeting channel. This first directive we've given it, but because it has run the entire pipeline, we are able to see the output of the second process, which is convert to upper. So remember, in our initial channel, input channel, it's hello world in small case, right? So the convert channel has translated all these elements into uppercase. Okay. Now, there's some things we can take note of in this particular run. So it will tell us the version of Nextflow your pipeline is run with. Okay. And then the name of the pipeline, It's using DSL2 syntax, and then it's going to tell us whether there's a revision in our code base as our script changed once we were executing it or launching it. And we are also seeing that it's being executed on our machines locally, okay? So the executor there is local. Then down there, we see some hexadecimal digits which indicates the unique identifier of the processes, okay? This is a unique identifier of the process, and then the first process is split letters. It's actually it's one task or one process. So in this brackets, one task. Then for the second process also we see the same. But because there are two tasks, Nextflow is intelligent enough to already see that it's expecting 3 tasks to be executed. Okay. Now to visualize the output, here by default, Nextflow will create a directory called work. So it's in this work directory that the output of these processes will be written. So if we look at one of the directories there, the first one, 4C, and then EA, if we list the items, we see that the process split letters has created 2 files, chunk AA and chunk AB, which is what we directed it to do here. Take this input channel, split the characters in that channel into 6, and save the outputs into files, chunk, and append any suffixes along the chunk. So if we wanted to split it into 3 objects, then the number of files would increase. Okay. Now, if you want to see, for instance, how we can do this using the reentrancy method that I showed you, you can use an argument or a parameter called resume, okay, within Nextflow. So Nextflow will, if for instance your pipeline broke or you realize it has an error somewhere, it will resume from the last step at which it stopped, okay? But because there was no problem in our code, it will have already cached the output of the previous run, okay? So it won't have to run the pipeline from scratch. Okay, yes?
So does the order matter for the words? Let's say we had hello world. Now
Oh, yeah, the order does not matter because this is what I was talking about, the parallelism. So remember the split, the order in which the how do you call them? The channel, the order of elements in your channel get into a process is not necessarily the same. The output will not be the same as the order they came in. Okay. So it's not a guarantee that, yeah, because it's one process acting on different elements. Okay.
So is there a way of ensuring that it comes as you have inputted? Like as you are splitting it, can you make sure that it still stays at hello world? Or it will just come and scrambled up like it is?
In this particular case, I think it might not be the best example, but if you're using real data, as we will see, I think the order does not matter. The order does not matter. Yeah.
so does that mean I can run it again and the order changes?
Yes.
Still?
If I attempt to run it right now, the order could be hello world. Yeah. Yeah. It's not a guarantee that you will have the same order. Yeah. Yeah.
In the R session.
So So for us to see how we can display these logs for each process or task, then there is an option called anti-log false. So remember, the second process, convert to upper, is acting on two elements in a channel, right? The split process generated two files, but you see when it's running, it's bundling them as one in one line. So if you want to see the logs of all those processes, then we can use this capability of anti-log false. And if we run it, then we should be able to see it working on all the tasks in the convert to upper process. Okay. Now, to be able to see what's really happening behind the scenes, for every of these tasks, there's going to be an SH script which Nextflow executes. So this also resides in the work directory of these hexadecimal directories. Okay. So 4C, and then it's .command.sh. Okay, so if we have a look at that, you're seeing what that particular process or task is. So it's a bash script that is going to allow you to see exactly what variable was used to generate the output. Now, when you use params dot the name of your parameter, you can override the default which is indicated here. So if I give it a different name, I use it as an option while running my script. So the parameter is greeting, okay, and then I give it a different greeting, maybe habari yako in Swahili. It is going to override the hello world that you are defined within your script, okay? When you use params of greeting. So let's run this and see. So again, here we see that Nextflow can allow you to input multiple parameters within your script. Okay.
So, does that automatically change the script, or it's just?
No, it doesn't change the script. It's just the value of your parameter is different from what you define in your script. Okay. Now, to show you how the operators maybe collect and flatten work, we can again view this latest channel and collect, use the collect operator and view how it looks like this. So assuming that we've transformed our channel into a collect, using the collect operator, we see how the channel looks, and then again we show when we flatten it how it will look. So you see now your channel is an array or a list with the first file and the second file. Okay, and now when we pass it on to the second process, which is converting the elements in these files, we need to ensure that this particular function works on each element. So that's why we are flattening it. And we say that flattening will convert the array into separate entities of the channel. So let's see how flat will work. Now you see it's no longer an array but individual elements as channels. Okay. And to view every item in those channels, you want to print out every item in those channels, you will use view and then into brackets item within the channel. So this is just a simple demonstration on how you can implement Nextflow within your pipelines. So the other thing to touch on would be to maybe if it was a purely bioinformatic pipeline that required the use of CPUs and memory, you could put them as directives here. So here, CPUs for maybe you're using a Conda environment and you're pulling it from BioConda. Maybe it's FastQC. Okay, so this would qualify as directives. Container, you're pulling it from BioContainer. Yeah, I don't know the full part, but this is how you could incorporate them in a script. Okay? Now, because these processes do not depend on any of these, there's no need of doing that. Is there a question up to there? Something not clear? You can.
Are you going to put this in the notes? Because I saw you came up with some other commands that are not necessarily here, like that answer whatever.
Oh yeah.
Put it in the notes.
Yeah, it's possible to have it, but just like any other programs or bioinformatic tools or any other tool, they come with a help. I think
So John, is there a way to make your screen a bit bigger? Because I find it kind of hard to read your text.
is that fine?
Oh, that's good.
Like this. Is that big enough?
And this output in your example here is in those files, right? The output comes from your Nextflow run, and then but it ends up in those chunk AA and chunk AB files.
Yes.
And those are for this particular, that's in the working directory of this particular run of Nextflow. Next time I run it, it's going to be in a also work, but a different place, right?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Access to the B file. I'm getting access to the B file. The text here is now supposed to create a chunk A and B, but it creates only A.
It's only creating it.
Yeah.
Using the hello and
Yeah.
it's straight. You change the script. To modify it. Okay, so you're looking this one direction, okay? What? So by default, all your output will be written in a directory created by Nextflow called work. Okay? But you can change the name of that directory using this command -w, and then you give it the name of a particular directory. So let's try and run that and then change the name of our work directory. Okay, -w, and let's call it results. Okay. So the intermediate result files or output files are going to be stored instead of the default work directory created by Nextflow. This time they're going to be created in a directory called results. So if you list all the elements there, you should be able to see another directory called results, because I've overridden the default work directory created by Nextflow. Okay. So under results, if you are monitoring your pipeline, I said, so now the output of these processes are going. So if you look at the first column here, these hexadecimal digits are just directions or locations of the output of those processes. Okay? So in my run, I will look at results, and then the first process was C9. Okay? A very long hexadecimal number. And then that's where the results of the split letters are going to be stored, which are just chunks of these letters that have been split into characters of 6. If you're confused, just put a pink sticker, or if you have any trouble getting the flow of this, then you can raise your hand and ask questions. Yeah?
So, the ID, what's the ID? The numbers, the FB780.
Those are just randomly generated numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not like constant. But if that process had run previously and you use the resume command, it will still be the same directory. Okay. So in that particular run, what I did, let me use the resume. It will maintain the same directory naming. You see it has not changed? Yeah, so if I use resume, the naming, the hexadecimal naming of my directories are going to be the same. Now, if I run it afresh without resuming, okay, that is bound to change. Okay, you see now it has changed? Yeah.
But you can, if you want that work directory to be one specific thing, you can tell it like minus work directory, right? I think it was a minus work directory.
Yeah.
Or minus work directory.
Minus that.
It's minus.
It's
Just one. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the option, if you look here, look, but just can you just show the resume one, please, John? If you notice, it's minus greeting, but it's minus with one minus resume. So we might be used to, when we're using a so-called long option in the shell, it's normally minus. But the rules for Nextflow are that if it's 2 minuses, it goes to the Nextflow script as a parameter. And if it's 1 minus, it goes to Nextflow itself.
So then all these scripts are within the training workspace, so you don't need to write anything. So you can just modify the script. Yes. Yes. See the flow of your pipeline. You can use as a directed a cyclic graph or DAG. You can use the option minus with minus DAG. Okay, and this is going to create a diagram showing how your pipeline is. Okay, so try that and see what you will generate. So it's going to be an HTML file which you can open on your browser. Now the same implementation of that hello world has been done using a Python script, and that's also in the workflow there in your workspace. Okay, so as I said, in Nextflow you can incorporate different scripting methods for the processes that you're undertaking. So there's an implementation of the same in Python, and it all results in the same output. So it's something that you can look during your free time. But with that, brief introduction to Nextflow, I'm not sure whether we are ready to undertake this assignment. You can attempt it. Just look at it, and then when you're having any trouble, you can let us know, or you can work in pairs just to save on time and enhance learning. You can work in pairs. The exercise requires us to use some data, which Peter gave us in the first session earlier on Monday. Okay, so we have to use our command line skills to get that file list one from the Sandy server, the Sandy server which Alan shared, and we have to bring it to our Gitpod workspace, and then from there we want to download the data that is listed in that file. Is it something that we can do, right?
Yeah, because I didn't say anything about async on Monday. That's going to be. I didn't say anything about async on Monday, so that's going to be a new learning topic. But yeah, I would think ACP or one ACP or what's the thing for Mac that they use? Files and I don't know. Lines.
But let's do the first part of it together. You can do it as we attempt to do it also here. So the instruction is to create a directory in a Git space and name it Nextflow exercise. So that we can do, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we do? How do you create a directory? Huh? M? And we're calling it Nextflow exercise. Okay, it will be inside training, so it will list. Okay, then copy the file from the remote host to your newly created directory. So already what we can do there, just to save on, we can change directory into that the newly created directory. Okay. And then how do we copy a file from
CP?
Yeah, CP, but now it's between different hosts. Huh?
Different hosts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
SCP or AppSync, but I don't think, let's see, since AppSync is not installed in Workspace, let's try, yeah, SCP is there. So, you remember the logins which you were given? Do you remember the login?
Like your user number. Does everybody remember their user number?
Okay, so if you remember, then this is what you're going to do. I'm going to use this user 50, okay? So SCP user 50, it's between hosts, remote hosts, and shell. This is the IP address, shell.sandy.sc.za. And then the files were in a directory called data. File list 1.csv. Okay. I'm not sure whether this will work, but it will ask for a password or something.
That will work.
The password.
Yeah?
That will work.
Yeah. It will work for a password. It will ask for a password.
It did not ask for a password.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I say yes. Alright, so I need to key in this password. I'm user 50.
That's like fake news.
Yeah?
Right. I think not really listening to ask for password.
Yes. Okay,
There you go.
it has copied it.
But can I give the URL for where you can find that file on the internet so that they don't need to load ACP?
Yeah, sure.
Can I Slack you or something?
Yes, sure.
Yes.
Then we just make life a little bit easier for me.
have it, right? Yeah. So then you can list and ensure that you have it, and then you can do less the contents. Okay. So basically, it's a file that has several lines showing the sample. I think the first column is the sample ID. The second column should be the link to where the data is located. There should be 20 lines in total. Okay? Right, so the first task is we're going to implement the bash scripts from lesson 1 in a process to download the sequence data. Okay? So we have to write a Nextflow script or pipeline that allows us to download the data in that file list CSV file. What are the steps you think we can do there? Okay. Somebody to direct us. There's something to say. So we want to implement the bash script, which Peter gave us as a process within a Nextflow pipeline. Okay, so at the top, the exercise says we will create a Nextflow workflow that has two processes. One, to fetch the sequence data, and two, to pre-process the data. So the first process is to download and fetch the sequence data that we can get from the file list, the CSV file. And there was a bash script that you guys learned earlier on Monday to get that data. So how do we implement that as a process within our Nextflow workflow? You know the components? Yeah?
This is going to be fun. Yeah. Okay, so that thing on the what the hell?
No,
Why are you saying Python now?
No, it's not Python.
Please, let's not go there.
There's no Python. So, who's going to tell us the steps you need to take in order to get that data and implementing that bash script in an Nextflow pipeline workflow? Yes?
You have to create the scripts for the Nextflow script. Then you start with the interpreter. Then we give your parameters for the URL and the output. Then once you're done, you start with the process to download. You access give the parameter for the output of the file. Then you write your scripts for the parameters for the file, and before you open the parameter for Webflow. I think
Okay. That's a good starting point. We all agree, right?
So are you saying that what you're talking about, your thought is that your Nextflow script will have a parameter called URL?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's possible. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, but let's see how it goes. So we're going to create a Nextflow script or workflow, right? So you can use this command called code to create a new script. So code, and how do we want to call our Nextflow workflow?
John, is it the same one like doing an analog?
Exactly.
This is different from like the way you say analog from.
Yes, it's different from, yeah.
Different.
So the code will create a file.
Yes.
It expects a file name.
Yes.
Okay. Or you can just come here and create a new file. Click on new file, and then we give it what name, but it should be in your Nextflow. It should be in your Nextflow exercise directory.
Okay.
Okay. So within there, create a new file. So it's now you see it's within the Nextflow exercise directory. Then how do you want us to name it? Exercise 2.nf. Okay. Exercise 2.nf, because it's going to be an Nextflow pipeline or script. Then enter. It is going to create it, and you see here, the first thing you see is a blank document, line 1. And he's saying line 1, we have to use the shebang, which is user beginning environment. We want to use Nextflow, right?
Yep.
Okay. So the process. How do we define the process block? The name of this process, the first process, which is to download or fetch. So we call it download, right?
Yeah.
Download files, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then here I can comment this and say here is where the directives are. And then here we have our inputs. And here we have our outputs. And then we have our script. Okay, and after that, we okay, so I say Nextflow, how you comment using these slashes. When you see the process we are going to do is to download the files. Okay. So the first line, tell the interpreter it's a Nextflow script, and the process is downloading the files. And then you have your directives block, your input block, your output block, your script, and finally you have the workflow block. Is it?
Yeah. Too fast.
I'm too fast. Look like, right? Now, I'm going to require your inputs. What do you think we're going to put in the directives? Just have in mind that this is going to use a command called wget. Yeah?
Path.
Huh?
The path that you are copying.
The path? What did you say directives block contain?
CPU tools.
Hmm?
CPU tools.
Yeah, so if it's going to require compute resources, CPUs, the number of CPUs, if it's going to require this amount of memory, if it's going to require a Honda environment or a container, those you put them under directives. But we don't need that for this process, right? Okay, so at the moment we can leave that alone. In the inputs, now the inputs, this is where the channels come in. What's going to be our input channel? So the keyword there is going to be input. Okay? Just type that input, and then you require channel. So the main reason why we downloaded the file list one was to use that as an input channel for us to be able to download this data. Okay? So let me give us a hint. So we can already start defining our parameters here. So it's going to require an input. So we can give it maybe input file or input CSV. Okay? And this we're going to define like any file. It could be input.csv, right? Remember, we can override this using the Nextflow run, the option for our input when we're going to run it on the command line, right?
Yeah.
So this value does not really matter, okay? Now, we need to create a channel from this parameter, okay, with this string. What type of channel do you think it's going to look to be? So let's call it input channel, and it's going to be, always start with channel, then dots. Is it off? Is it from? Is it from file values or what? It's a file. It's within a particular directory. So was there something like this? Yeah?
The input channel from path is going to give you just the file, right?
Yes.
Don't you want from CSV? Isn't there from CSV to
Yeah.
make
It
this
is, yeah, it is possible, but I don't want to use the
advanced?
the Java or the Groovy syntax to process it.
So because what I'm okay, because the thing is we can still use shell tools like cat and what
Mhm.
to split into URLs.
Will that be the URL of the Google?
No. It's going to be this value of this params input. Okay? Okay? You can always test this.
Oh, split CSV, I think.
Okay?
By the way, the one thing that I found is really useful is that there's a website called Nextflow Patterns that gives you like little solutions for
Yeah.
like how to do something for each line in CSV and things.
So we have defined our input channel. Okay? So it's by the definition of this channel, the input there is going to be a path. Okay? and then we can give it any name. Maybe it's a CSV file. You could give it any name you want, but remember, whatever you give it here, it should be what is consumed in the script block, okay? Is it clear up to this point? Let's just build it up. We will, it's always a matter of, if you're not sure, print to see the output, and then you correct as we move along.
Question.
Yeah.
In the input, you've defined the path as CSV. I've seen instances where instead of path, there is file within that input. What's the thing?
Yeah, so with the DSL2 syntax, it's no longer, you no longer use file. Yeah.
And path is a path, so it's like the string that locates the path. So in other words, what you're getting is not, you're not getting an open file like in Python.
Yes,
This
it's
is
not
a path.
open. Yeah, it's just a
And
path.
then another tool is going to open the file for you.
But file was used in DSL1. In DSL2, it's path.
How comes on top of that script has not enabled DSL?
Yeah, because the current version of Nextflow, if we look at the version of this Nextflow, is is it minus or minus one? It's one. So Nextflow info actually, not version. It is DSL2 enabled. When we run it, we will see. But you can still invoke it when doing the run by using the option -DSL2. It's still possible to invoke it in the script, but if it is not DSL2 enabled, then you can use an option here which enables it to use the DSL2 syntax.
Sorry, Tom, I'm lost. I thought that Nextflow these days assumed you were using DSL2 unless you were using DSL1.
Yeah,
Why am I wrong?
Yeah.
I don't know, because I've had problems with old Nextflow scripts, and then it says, oh, this is not the right DSL version. But I think that's if it uses, like, say, from file, which doesn't exist anymore, or something like that. I must admit, I'm still learning how to.
Okay, so what I know is DSL2 is implemented from, I think, Nextflow 20 point something about.
DSL2 20.4.7.
So if
you're
I'm
writing
writing a script like that, and I kind of like input chunks of blocks, maybe written DSL1 to run to that error that is talking about. But is there an instance? Like if I'm reading 23, Nextflow 23, rather 23,
You don't need to invoke.
DSL to enable. And
You
I'm
don't.
writing some chunks of code in DSL1. Is there a way I can override the DSL to intrinsically enable the read?
I don't think so. Much has changed. Much has changed. It may not be possible, but if you've written in DSL1 and you want to enable it in DSL2, still some of these syntax or operators might have changed. So that's why you have to be explicit. But in this case, we know the most latest version of Nextflow, and we're using the DSL2 syntax, so we don't need to specify.
So this thing, what you're writing here, is Nextflow that would work in any Nextflow. This
Yes.
generic Nextflow would work in DSL1, DSL2. But if you want to use the DSL2 specific features, then must you always have that line at
Yes.
the top.
Yeah.
But should we not just always get used to putting that, because we should always be like working in this new version of this? So I mean, like it felt to me like they almost like reinvented the language when they made that switch. So
Yeah.
to me, it's like, I don't know, who here programs in Python? If you ever program in Python, you know that Python 2 and Python 3, they're different, you know. So the same thing with Nextflow, the pressure is to now do everything in DSL2, right? I think, but it doesn't matter for these basic scripts. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. A complex script. Yeah. Okay, so the output channel. What are we going to emit as our output? You are going to run that script that is going to use wget. So what's the output of wget? What is that? Yeah. Yeah, it's a file, yes. Output file. And they still point to a path, but we know the pattern of our files, so we are going to say that all our files should end with fastq dot gz, right? Okay. Now, when it comes to the script block, we say it can be a script, a shell, or a native executable for Groovy. So here we have the option of using either script or shell. But one important thing you should know is that the $sign, when you run a script, it has the symbol, in a script, then Groovy will interpret it differently from the symbol you use in shell. Okay? So in this part, we have two options. We can use a shell, or let's use a script. Let's use a script. Okay? And always you enclose this in, because this is not going to be a Groovy execution, but rather a bash execution, okay? So what we can do is go to our course and just lift that script that you developed and paste it in here. I think it was in the Unix Linux introduction. Go to the website, the course website. Okay, there's this script that you guys wrote on how to download this, or how to fetch the data given this file. In the course website, just open a new tab and go to the course website. And in the fetching and analyzing data with shell scripts, you will see this particular shell script that was used to fetch that data. Yeah? Are you there?
Yeah.
So we're going to be lazy and we're going to copy it. Okay? We're going to copy that script and then paste it in the script block of our Nextflow tool. Okay? Oh, we've copied it there, so let's try to do some indentation. I'll just move them by Yes, so that they're in line. So again, we see here the shell script. We put some measures to check whether there's an unnamed argument. The script to exit. So what we need to change here is that instead of this, so this is the first argument when you are running the script, right? $1. So what we're going to do is just put this in quotes and call it the input channel here, which is CSV file. That's all. Okay. Do we understand what has happened there?
Can you
Explain that.
repeat that, please?
So initially, in the script, it was $1, right?
Yes.
So when you were running this shell script, it expected you to give it an argument, which was the file. The file is itself. Okay. So, but remember, in our Nextflow workflow, we've defined it using a different name. Okay. The script is going to consume this as its argument. Okay. So that is why we are substituting that to the name of our yes. Okay. And the rest should be the same because our
So you just keep going back to the top of it again. So you're putting it in. And it's why? Why can you not just say list five is equal to and after quotes? I've got a theory, but I've been
yeah. But I've always run into trouble because the dollar symbol for Groovy may not necessarily be the same thing for shell. So in some cases, that's why in this exercise, I give you a link here that you should take note of. Copy. The interpretation of the dollar symbol in Ruby and shell are totally different. Okay? So this is something that you should be aware of. So when we're going to execute it as a script, then you will see that we either use this syntax, okay, this exclamation mark character instead of the dollar symbol. Okay, because in Nextflow, the dollar symbol has a different meaning when it comes to execution of this script. Okay, but let's try it. I mean, if we run into an error, then we can. The rest of the script should be the same, but I'm sure this we will run into trouble because Nextflow will struggle to interpret this dollar symbol. But we're gonna see how we can overcome that. Okay. Now our script is ready. So what we're going to do here is now execute the process. So the output channel will be files channel, and it's gonna be the output of the download files process. Okay. Our input was input channel. Okay. So the other directive we could have used here is just to give it a tag, something that's going to identify it. This could be the CSV file, the name of that file. A tag, a label, a container, a folder, those are directives that you can use. So now let's see what this will do. How do we run it? Once we have set this in place, how do we run an Nextflow script?
Run.
Nextflow
Run.
run.
The name of
The
exercise tool. And then the name of the CSV file.
The name of the CSV file. That's very important, right? We could have run it like this, but what will it tell us? The default input file was this. But again, you see we are running into problem already. Okay? Because of Nextflow struggling to differentiate between the dollar symbols. So what we can do is use this this syntax here. So instead of a script, we can use shell as in that particular block. Okay, and then we use single quotes instead of this double. So change this even down here, and then for Nextflow to differentiate between the dollar sign in the shell and from that of Nextflow, we use an exclamation mark, and we put this in curly braces as indicated here. Okay. So change the script block keyword instead of script, put a shell, and then use single quotes, and then for Nextflow to distinguish shell variables from its own variables, then we're going to use an exclamation mark and the curly braces. And then so once that is done, we can try running it. Okay, so you see, it gives you an error. Input.csv not found. Okay, because out of our ignorance, we assume that there's a file called input.csv. So how do we override that from the command line? So we just need to incorporate, and then we give it the file name, right?
How about if you assign the file name to?
Yeah, it's possible. You can assign it, and it will run without any error. Okay, so the other thing you could do here is use a keyword called check if it exists, and then just to be true. Okay. So if I run it, so let me just run it without the correct file name. It will still throw an error, file does not exist or something.
So is the file called something else?
Hmm?
I thought the file was called file list one.
Yes. That's why it's throwing an error. But now, if we put the correct file, should be able to run. Okay. So it is running, I guess. Yeah, it has completed. So again, we can check in our work directory and using this hexadecimal digits 839. We should be able to see a list of these FASTQ files already downloaded, right? Okay. Now we can incorporate other parameters. For instance, we want to have a directory where we're going to put this output instead of the default Nextflow directory. And we're going to call this RDIR. Okay. Now the other directive we can put here is we want to publish this into our output directory, and what we're gonna do is to copy. Instead of creating a symbolic link, we're gonna copy. So this will create another directory called outdir, and it will copy the contents of the work directories into this directory as well. Okay. Now let's try and run this again. Just check here. So you see, I've not used the resume option, so it's running it afresh. Okay, there's a problem somewhere. Okay, I see. Let me define this as I want that in my data. Oh, it's param, it's not param. That's why. Let me see. Okay, so you see it has created a new directory called outdir, and then within outdir, we have put our FASTQ files into what directory called data. Okay, I could override this by saying I want my outdir. Okay. I'm not really sure. I found there to be output. And then I'm not sure of this command. Let me see if it will run. Yeah, it should be. Okay, I have overridden the output directory and used output instead of the default, which is outdir. Okay, let's created another directory called output, and inside output, all my data will be in a directory called data. So whatever is happening in the work directory, which is the default directory for intermediate results, is going to be copied into my output directory. Okay. So we've solved one task. Now, what kind of channel does this process emit? How can we check? How do we print the contents of a channel? Anyone who remembers? We use which operator? Files channel dot view. Good. So let's see the channels it will produce. The contents of that channel. Now you see it's a, how do you call this type of a channel? So whenever you see this,
That's a value channel. Like if you see a list of
it's a queue channel.
Q channel.
Yeah.
So it's a queue because
It's waiting to be consumed by another process.
and a value channel is like basically, in other words, like a constant value.
Yeah, a single value. Yeah. So the question is, we have this channel. How do we transform it into one where each sample ID has both the forward and the reverse rate? Or if you wanted to create a channel that has file pairs, how can we do that? The exercise is quite, it gives you the option to create a channel from the data set that you downloaded, or transform the channel from the first process into a channel that produces file pairs. Any idea? You have this directory which has this number of reads, and you want to get a channel of those read pairs. It is a queue channel, but can someone tell me the syntax? So I could call it reads channel, and then I begin from right? What is it going to take? So at this point, we are going to create a channel from the so we are not going to do any transformation. So we just want to create a channel from the directory where we have downloaded our data. So the directory where our data resides is in, sorry, it is in params dot out KR. So this is where our data resides, right? we can view this again.
You get the other page, the right side, filter.
Which one?
The other one at the end. Look around this here. This is switch around now. Then
I thought this need to, it has to be. Syntax here. Should be. This seems not to be working. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not implementing the pattern. Patterns dot. Yeah. And then yeah, I wasn't implementing pattern yet. Yeah. I hadn't put the pattern, so it was just.
So the reason it didn't work before is because you needed the curly bracket 1 and 2. That one.
Yes, but I hadn't put in the pattern as well. The pattern with files I want.
So just to be clear, when you say from file pairs, it must always be a thing that has that magical.
Yes.
thing here.
that should have this pattern and ends with this. So this is gonna create what we call in Ruby, they call it like a tuple, or more or less like a dictionary if you use Python, whereby
It's more or less like a tuple if you use Python. It's a list.
it's a list, yeah, but it's it has a key value kind of pairing.
No, that's
it.
no, it doesn't actually. The tuple part is the file bit, but then yes, then it takes the key. That's because the tuple part, it's actually a key and a tuple. You get one key and two things.
Yeah.
The tuple is like Python.
Yeah. So the first element is a sample and the second element are the files. So we have the first read and the second read. Pink, I see so many pinks.
You just lost already, right? Alright.
I'm gonna give everybody who's lost just check.
It's yeah, he's on the next office. No, what's happening is that it's tripping a circuit and this we go.
Yes. This is called Fastly or Fastly.
You just want to have if the whole code we see, just the whole block. Even if you minimize the font, but we want to establish the whole code. Yeah. And then we can be taking portions from up top.
From
and
number
then 2
1.
lines from top down there.
Go from top. Minimize again.
We're suggesting to start from the top, then this one. From line 1, yeah, then you can increase the font a bit. Yeah, you can increase some more. Yeah, and give us some time just to cross check if it matches, then you can scroll it down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Non, j'ai filmé. Quand il faisait tout ça. J'ai filmé quand il codait. Tu as pris la photo, oui, tu as fait. Yes, la photo. Parce que le bas des chambres
So I think all of us should get up to this point so that in the afternoon we do the other process where we incorporate whatever we learned in terms of software management, incorporate conduct directive or container directive.
So I want to ask you, what's the difference between the using the mode copy and the sibling?
So the sibling is not going to create, is not going to have the files in your data, but it will be a pointer to the files in the work directory. It will not copy the contents of that directory into your published directory. Yeah.
Shell, the ship, those are single quotes or what?
These are single quotes.
Yeah.
If you put double, there's this thing about shell that will not work. So if you put double, then Groovy or Nextflow will not differentiate your variables with with $sign symbol from those with shell.
How many single quotes is there?
So these are three. You could run it as a script, but you will have to escape all the $sign symbols there, which I find is a bit difficult.
So you say you know this as a shell?
Yeah? You run it as a shell, but you can run it as a script, but you have to now escape all these $sign symbols. Okay? You have to escape. You have to escape all this for them not to be interpreted as, yeah. But just run it as a shell.
Just still running into an error on the ship, so I don't understand.
With this line of script, yes, it says it checks if it exists. It's true. But then once I get out to add that script, I have an error.
Because if you look here, you need either a comma. Yeah.
Check if it exists.
So we have to
You guys have hours.
What's up? Working fine for me. So maybe anybody another, you also trying to do something with Wi-Fi and I was having issues. I mean, problem.
So one of those like programs is trying to test to see which one.